welcome. I would like to welcome you to another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And if you would do me a favor, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so anything would help. But here's where we'll start. So Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns make it to their first NBA Finals since 1999. This is Chris Paul's first NBA Finals. Now, the knock on Chris Paul has always been, he can't make it to the big dance. When he was with the Rockets, that was his first time in his career that he even went to the conference finals. Chris Paul he's always been on that list. The Carmelo Anthony, the Dominique Wilkins, the Steve Nash, incredibly talented players that just couldn't get over the hump. Hell, those players I just named haven't made it to the NBA Finals. We know how great Melo is, Hall of Famer. Or future Hall of Famer. We know how great Steve Nash is, Hall of Famer. We know how great Dominique Wilkins is, Hall of Famer. Yet and still, they've never made it to the NBA Finals. And Chris Paul was on that list, and for a minute, man, it felt like everything was in Chris Paul's way to accomplish this goal. And I mean, from injuries, from bad beats, from 3-1 collapses, from bad teammates, man. It just felt like everything was against Chris Paul. Hell, there's a funny thing going around saying that there was a Chris Paul curse. As far as he can get he can get so close to the conference finals or the NBA Finals, and then it just falls apart. And this year is different from most years, man. This year the gates opened up for him. And I'm not saying that to say Chris Paul got lucky this year. What I'm saying is like I said before, every NBA Finals is shaped on some type of injury. Every single one. Whether it's in the finals, whether it's before, every single NBA Finals is shaped on injury. But it's the team that whatever team adapts to it first and adapts to it best is the one that wins. And hell, congratulations to the Suns, man. The Suns, I'm going to say this. I knew they were going to be good this year because of what we saw last year towards the end of the season and the bubble. And then getting Chris Paul. If you look at Chris Paul's resume, every team he goes to gets better. So I knew they were going to be good. But I didn't think they were going to be NBA Finals good. And I didn't think that it's different, but like last year. You knew the Heat were good. They had a lot of fortunate circumstances happen to them or other teams. But you didn't think that they were good enough to win the NBA Finals against the Lakers, against LeBron, against AD. You didn't think they were good enough. However, this Suns team is good enough to make to win the NBA Finals. And you can't put it all on Chris Paul, but a lot of this is Chris Paul. And I talk about this all the time, fit matters. And when people hear me say that, a lot of people, let me say this. When I say that, it's usually it's usually talking about rookies coming in the league and wherever they get drafted or wherever they go. That's usually the fit I'm talking about. But fit also works for older veteran players. Chris Paul, Houston was probably the best team he's ever been on, but it still didn't work out. Hell, the Clippers was probably the second or first best team he's ever been on, with a prime Blake Griffin, with a prime DeAndre Jordan, with Caron Butler when he was still all right, with Matt Barnes. Those were great teams. Yet and still, he just couldn't get over the hump, whether it was injury, whether it was 3-1 collapses, 3-2 collapses, it just couldn't get over the hump. Why is this team, the Phoenix Suns, so different as far as outcome for Chris Paul, for the team? Two reasons. One, because he's going to a team full of younger players, but the most important thing is they're listening to him. They're willing to listen to him. hell, we've heard stories upon stories that Chris Paul is not the easiest person to deal with because he demands a lot from you. It's kind of like the Michael Jordan effect. Not saying that Chris Paul's Michael Jordan, don't hear me say that. But it's kind of like the Michael Jordan effect. It's hard playing with Michael Jordan because he's going to demand the most out of you. He's going to bark at you. He's going to yell at you. He's going to berate you, but he's trying to get the best out of you. And of course, his logic is, well, if you can't take it from me, your teammate, how are you going to take it from an opponent? How are you going to take it from away fans? You know what I mean? So one thing that's really helped Chris Paul this year is he went to a team that wants to listen to him. And he also went to an incredibly talented team with Devin Booker, who is a borderline superstar, with DeAndre Ayton, who was a former number 1 overall pick. This team was built. You know what it is? This team was not built around a player, and that's what you don't see. You see that a lot. You see, like I said, when the Bucks. We'll talk about them in a second. They're built around Giannis. The Lakers. They're built around Anthony Davis and LeBron James. The Phoenix Suns is not built around anybody. It's just a good team. Shouts out to James Jones, the GM. They're just built. He built a great team, not around a player, not around Chris Paul, not around Devin Booker. They built a great team. And this team listens to Chris Paul. This team wants to be led by Chris Paul. They understand how good Chris Paul is. They understand that Chris Paul will go down as one of the greatest point guards ever. So they're open to listen. The problem with the Rockets is James Harden wasn't really willing to listen to Chris Paul because James Harden felt and feels, which he's entitled to feel that way, feels that he is above Chris Paul. He's better than Chris Paul. And why do I need to listen to Chris Paul? Not saying that they just butt heads all the time, but there's a level of connection that you can get from a player if they want them to have it. And they don't want that connection, there's always going to be a gap there. Hell, that's why you saw, the infamous video of Chris Paul putting his hand out and then James Harden slapping it down. Like, you have to be willing to be led. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying James Harden's not. I'm just saying him and Chris Paul were butting heads. Hell, you saw it once Chris Paul, or you heard it once Chris Paul was traded out for Russell Westbrook. So the one thing that's helping Chris Paul is the fact that you're going to a younger team that wants to listen to you, that's open to hearing what you have to say, that's open to hearing your criticism, that's open to hearing your praise, that's open to hearing your leadership because they want to be led. You know what I mean? And number 2, because of Monty Williams. First and foremost, I believe Monty Williams should have won the Coach of the Year this year. Shouts out to Tom Thibodeau. I'm not, he had a great year, of course, with the Knicks. I just feel that what we're seeing from the Suns and what we're seeing from the last 2 years, honestly, or the end of the bubble to now, I think Monty Williams should have got it, but it is what it is. Monty Williams coached Chris Paul back in the day when they were in New Orleans, and Monty Williams is a great coach. He's had some rough rough starts, or rough places. I told you last episode when we were talking about Chauncey Billups, the episode before when we were talking about Ime Udoka. Black coaches don't really get set up in the best positions a lot, and also black coaches have the shortest leash of all coaches. As far as, look at Ty Lue. Ty Lue, he gets them to Ty Lue when he was with Cleveland. Ty Lue with LeBron coaches his butt off, gets them to the NBA Finals. They lose. No, they win one. Next year they lose. The next year LeBron James is gone. He doesn't even make it to the halfway season before he gets fired. And it's an NBA champion Ty Lue, NBA champion coach gets fired not even halfway through the NBA season. what, 2 years after making the NBA Finals. It's like black coaches have a shorter leash, and Monte Williams has had some tough breaks. He's had some tough breaks in life. We know about his wife, and it just there's something to be said when the perfect player gets paired with the perfect coach. I mean, look at Golden State. Shouts out to Mark Jackson for building the infrastructure. As far as you built up Steph Curry, you built up Klay Thompson, you built up Draymond Green, but it took Steve Kerr to unlock that offense that maybe Mark Jackson couldn't unlock. And now, I mean, the history is the history is written for Golden State and that team. And I'm happy for Chris Paul, man. I'm happy for Chris Paul. I'm happy for Monty Williams because, like I said, both of them has gone through a lot. From Chris Paul in high school with his grandfather to his height. So his height's always going to be a problem. And of course the injuries we know about when they were up 3-2 against Golden State when he was with Houston and the hamstring injury. Of course we know about the collapse when he was with the Clippers against the Spurs. It's just been a rocky road, and now Chris Paul has found himself off the list with the Carmelos, with the Steve Nashes, with what's his name, George Gervin, with Dominique Wilkins, players that were great players, just never made it to the NBA Finals. And now we're gonna see if he's able to win it, and if he doesn't, I think a ring will do wonders for Chris Paul's legacy. And we always talk about legacy. Oh, this is a legacy game, legacy this, legacy that. Chris Paul, whether he wins a ring or not, is going to go down, in my opinion, as a top 10. Let me say this. If he wins a ring, he's top 5 for me. You have to put him on the lists with Magic Johnson, with Steph Curry, with Oscar Robinson. To me, he's top 5 because without the ring, he's top 10 in my opinion. But it's hard for me to put Chris Paul over some people because not having the ring. However, I'm not. What people go to the extreme, bro. Like people say, oh, Chris Paul's not that good because he hasn't won a ring. But then other people say, oh no, Chris Paul's a top 2. I'm like, ugh, I don't know. Now I'm not saying that Chris Paul is just gonna fall out of my graces or anything. I like Chris Paul. I think his antics are a little crazy on the court, but you do what you got. I mean, it's gotten him to the NBA Finals. So shouts out to Chris Paul and the Suns for making it to the NBA Finals. Definitely well deserved, and I'm not taking this win away from them, but I will say this: I think this series, as far as the Clippers and Suns series, was the first series that the Suns have played where an injury really affect the outcome. I don't. Even with Jamal Murray, I don't think that the Suns would have beat the. I mean, I think the Suns would have beat Denver. I just think that Denver doesn't. Even with Jamal Murray, they don't have enough scoring, or defense, honestly, and I don't think Jamal Murray being gone would have changed the fact that Aaron Gordon was playing like garbage, and nobody else really was there to score. So I don't think that. I think even with Jamal Murray, the Suns would have still beat the Denver Nuggets. But it's hard for me to see how this series went, to see how Paul George played, how Reggie Jackson played, how Morris played a couple games. It's hard for me to see that and then think if they didn't have their best player, which was Kawhi Leonard, the series would have been different. I mean, it went to 6 games. And To be honest with you, it could have went 7, but I just think that the Clippers ran out of gas. I mean, you're coming off of a 7-game series with Dallas. You're coming off a hard-fought coming back with a 6-game series from who they play second round, Utah, and I think you just ran out of gas. But that's nothing. That's nothing against the Phoenix Suns. I just think that if you had a healthy Kawhi Leonard, I just think that the series would have been a little different. But it wasn't. So congratulations and shouts out to CP3 and the Phoenix Suns for making the NBA Finals. This is the first time since 1999 the Phoenix Suns has made it to the finals, and I honestly don't think they've ever won. I know 1999, I believe. No, I don't think they've ever won it. So this could be the Phoenix Suns' first time winning. So shouts out to them, man. Moving forward. Oh, I don't understand this Bucks-Hawks series. I don't understand this Bucks-Hawks series, man. I talked about last time. Of course, Giannis is out with a hyperextended knee. Fortunately, there was no structural damage, so he could come back. It's just time, it's no timeable return, but he could come back, and it doesn't require surgery. So that's a blessing. Of course, with Tray Young, he still has the bone bruise. Both of them, of course, missed Game 5. And one reason why I don't understand this series is because everything that's not supposed to happen is happening. The Atlanta Hawks are not supposed to be. They weren't supposed to win 2 games. Again, this is the same Atlanta Hawks that was under 500 at All-Star game at All-Star break. This is the same Atlanta Hawks team that had a coaching change mid-season. This is the same Atlanta Hawks that have no All-Stars, no no All-NBA players, no All-NBA defenders. No, I think actually they may have an All-NBA defender. I think they have Clint Capella, and I think he was on the second team. But they have no All-NBA players. They shouldn't have had a lead in this series. They shouldn't be up in this. They shouldn't have 2 games in this series. The Milwaukee Bucks, they shouldn't have been down 1-0 in the series. They shouldn't have been tied up 2-2 in the series. They shouldn't be up right now because Giannis being out. They shouldn't be up 3-2. This is just everything that's happened in this series is not supposed to happen, but it is. Hell, on paper now, with Giannis being out and with Tray Young being out, the Milwaukee Bucks still have the better team. You still have Jrue Holiday, who had a big game last night, the other night. You still have Chris Middleton, who had a big game the other night. You had Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis, who both had career highs. They are on paper still the better team of the series. However, you don't know what you're going to get night after night. Are you going to get the smart Bucks team, which, your 7-foot Brook Lopez go to the rim? I think he went like 7 for 9 the first half because he was just going to the rim, dunking, getting layups because he's 7 feet. Or you're going to be the hard-headed Bucks where all you do is take threes, even if you're not making it. Atlanta, are you going to be the Atlanta of the other a few nights ago where you couldn't be stopped? You were just ripping and running, even without Tray Young. You were ripping and running, shooting threes. Bogdanovich was having a career night. Cam Reddish was good. Or are you going to be the Atlanta Hawks that we saw the other night? Game 5? Where they couldn't shoot to save their life. All they were doing was turning the ball over. Everyone on the Atlanta Hawks was bad, from Lou Williams to John Collins. Everyone was bad. It's just this series is hard to gauge, man. But now we're here. Now we are at now the series, the Milwaukee Bucks is up 3-2. And I don't know. I don't know, man. I would say that Milwaukee Bucks could, because like I said, even with Tray Young being out, even with Giannis being out, I feel the Bucks have the better team, as we saw the other night. But I don't know what we're going to get. It's hard for me to predict this series because everything that's happening is not supposed to happen. So, and I said this. I said that even before the series, I didn't think it was going to be a long series. I thought that the Bucks were going to win in 5, but that was also with Giannis and Tray Young playing. So I think you might see Tray Young next game, seeing as though if he can go with that bone bruise, seeing as though, I mean, you're down 3-2, it's pretty much all in line. You have to win 2 games. Not to mention, I don't think we're going to see Giannis for the rest. But I don't know. Giannis was up. Giannis last game, he was standing up the whole time, jumping around. I don't know. Giannis is a freak of nature. There was a bad hyperextension that we all saw it, so I don't know how the hell this man is just getting it. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess my prediction tonight is the Bucks are going to win, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Tray Young. I don't know. This series is just it's tough. It's tough. I don't know. Let's move forward. So the biggest news, the biggest news this week was the NCAA rule that they will allow players to make money off their likeness. This comes off the heels of the Supreme Court overruling and ruling against the NCAA for allowing players to, get educational benefits as far as scholarships, computers, and stipends and stuff like that. And it got me thinking. We're hearing now players are going to be able to get paid off their likeness, and it doesn't have to go through the school. I know there was 2 twin basketball players that are young ladies. They've signed deals already. This has to happen. This had to happen. This had to happen because the expansion of first, this should have been happened. Let me say that. This should have been happened because, again, and I talk about this all the time, these players make these institutions so much money, but they can't see any of it. And that to me is, I'm not going to say what it is. It's modern day, let's just say the S word. But they're making the institution so much money, and they can't benefit off it. They're still, a lot of these players, whether you see them in prime time, they're still going to sleep hungry a lot of times. So this is huge, and this is so important. And again, why you're asking why this is happening now? Because sports is expanding, man. The football game, NCAA football, that's coming back. So we know that's going to be a lot of lawsuits if this wasn't passed. The NCAA, they're expanding, or the NFL is expanding to 17 teams, 17 games, and the NCAA more than likely is going to have a 12-team playoff in the next year or two, meaning that these college football players are going to be playing more games. It's just more meaningful games at that. It's just this had to happen. NCAA is expanding. You can't keep expanding and working and having your participants work harder than and still not get compensated. So shouts out. I know it's crazy for me to say. Shouts out to the NCAA. Yeah, man, for finally doing the right thing. Now, how this continues to grow moving on, we'll have to see. But this kind of got me thinking. Who would have benefited the most? That question was kind of getting floated around, so this is an original thought. But who would have benefited the most? What I wanted to do is I wanted to do the 10 players, whether college football or college basketball, who would have benefited the most from being able to be paid. Who would have maybe been paid the most? Who would have definitely got deal? Like, I wanted to get the top 10 players that would have got that this rule would have helped them tremendously, or they would have benefited the most. Now, this list is not the greatest football, players in college football or college history. So you're not going to see no Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You're not going to see no Bill Russells. You're not going to see no Herschel Walkers. This isn't that. You're not going to see no Jim Browns. But This is just the list, whether it's due to social media influence, whether it's due to how they changed the game, whether it's due to their exposure. This is my top 10 list of players that would have that of course they're not going to, but would have benefited the most from the new ruling of the NCAA. First off, let me start with number 10, Steph Curry. What Steph Curry did for lower majors and stuff, for Davidson, is nothing more miraculous. People forget. People understand. People don't understand. Nobody knew Davidson. Nobody knew what Davidson was. Nobody knew where Davidson was if it wasn't for Steph Curry. And the fact of his magical run in the NCAA tournament just solidified. Curry went from being somebody that wasn't highly recruited, wanted to go to Duke, but Duke didn't want him, so he went to Davidson, the only school I believe that gave him a scholarship. He went from that to being a game away from being in the Final Four in the NCAA. I think it was his sophomore or junior year. See, what Steph Curry did was Steph Curry put his school on the map. He didn't just put the NCAA because, again, March is the most important time for the NCAA basketball, at least because, of course, March Madness. Most eyes are going to see that. But it's also important for a lot of schools because a lot of people don't even know these schools exist. And it's like, oh shoot! So because they want to get to March Madness, one, you get a pay increase and stipend and everything for the school, but you get exposure. A lot of people don't know about Winthrop. A lot of people don't know about Holy Cross. A lot of people don't know about Loyola. And a lot of people don't know about a lot of these schools until they make it to March. They're like, oh, let me see. Like Sister Jean. Nobody knows about these schools until, oh, shoot. Like, nobody really knows about Florida Gulf Coast. When you think of Florida schools, you think of course, University of Florida, maybe UCF, Florida State. You don't really think of Florida Gulf Coast. But now they're cemented with the whole dunking. So what Steph Curry did for Davidson and for the NCAA was huge. Of course, that run that he did, or that they had in the NCAA tournament, was crazy. I mean, him dropping 40, him eliminating teams like Georgetown, him going crazy. I believe they beat West Virginia. I don't know, but I know for sure it was Georgetown. And they came this close to beating Kansas. So, to me, number 10 would have been Steph Curry. Number 9 would have been Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson, because he was, to me, I'm not going to say he was, but one of the first successful double sport athletes. He played double sports in the professionals, of course, baseball and football, and he did the same thing at Auburn, but he did a lot of things at Auburn. I think he played baseball at Auburn. He ran track and was a world record holder, and of course football. Bo Jackson would have made that school so much. He made that school so much money because he was a freak athlete. He was one of those players that he could have landed on my most gifted if I did all sports. But what Bo Jackson meant to Auburn was, I think Bo Jackson, we'll talk about someone in a second, but I think Bo Jackson was probably one of the most important players to ever go to Auburn because of putting that. I'm not going to say he put them on the map, but he made that school a lot of money, especially in a time where it was tough being African American and an athlete. You know what I mean? To be African American and to be a successful athlete in multiple sports is nothing short of miraculous. So I think Bo Jackson would have been number 9. Number 8, Johnny Manziel. The Johnny Manziel craze was huge. We know how big it was, especially when he beat Alabama, and he even got in trouble. I think he got in trouble for like signing autographs and stuff. Like, Johnny Manziel was a walking celebrity in college because, going to a smaller school and man, see, the thing about Johnny Manziel is I'm not saying, now this is only college. I'm not saying, his NFL career or whatever should affect this, but Johnny Manziel was one of those players that could have benefited greatly because, again, nobody knew where'd he go to Mississippi State. I think he went to Mississippi State. No, Dak Prescott went to Mississippi State. I don't remember where he went, but Johnny Manziel was just different, man. And the thing is, he carried himself differently. Not saying like Texas A&M. He went to Texas A&M. He was a superstar in college. Kind of like Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield didn't make this list, but kind of like Baker Mayfield. Kind of like probably Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel, kind of a good comp towards each other. So I think because hell, he got in trouble for signing autographs. That's how big he was in college. And yeah, I think Johnny Manziel finishes 8th on my list for people that would have benefited the most from being able to be paid by your likeness. Number 7, I have Vince Young. What Vince Young did at Texas was nothing short of amazing. First of all, he wasn't that highly recruited. And he took down a dynasty in USC. Nobody expected Vince Young to be as good as he was. Nobody expected Texas to be as good as they were. Of course, Texas is always a powerhouse, but when you're going up against someone like USC and the guns that they had, no one expected that. Not to mention, Vince Young was a superstar in college, and kind of like Matt Leinart. Now, Matt Leinart was bigger, and he didn't make this list, but Matt Leinart was bigger. But Vince Young, I mean, he beat Matt Leinart. Like Vince Young, what Vince Young did for Texas, kind of like what Anthony Davis did for Kentucky, kind of like what what's his name? Michael Beasley did for Kansas State. What Vince Young did for Texas is nothing short of he improved. He put. I'm not gonna say he put them on the map because everyone knows what Texas is, but he brought them back to powerhouse status. Because before Vince Young, of course, Texas had their run, but there was a lull in Texas. Like nothing was really happening in Texas until Vince Young got there. And hell, Vince. We remember how good Vince Young was in NCAA football, the video game. Imagine Vince Young getting paid off that. Bruh, Vince Young was almost a cheat code. Now, he wasn't as bad as as Michael Vick Madden, but Vince Young was a cheat code. So I have Vince Young at number 8. At number 7, I have Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony bringing a championship to Syracuse as a freshman was something like we remember that one. Of course, you had Hakeem Warwick, but it was Carmelo's show. Carmelo was the best player in college basketball, and it wasn't even close. Like, again, and Syracuse is also one of those teams that benefited tremendously off of course, Jim Boeheim and Carmelo Anthony. And they've still benefited. Now, of course, they haven't won since Carmelo. And I think Carmelo has won their only championship as far as basketball. I could be wrong. But Carmelo Anthony was the best player when he was there, was the best player in college basketball. And it wasn't even close. It was not even close. As a freshman, realize he only stayed 1 year in college. 1 year, and he got them and won them a national championship. Carmelo Anthony would have benefited greatly because of the endorsements that he could have got. I mean, he could have got a Jordan deal. He could have got a Nike deal. He could have got a TV deal. Who knows? But, and I said and the thing about all these players is they would have gotten this. Like, don't fool yourself. Steph Curry, even though he went to Davidson, what he was doing tomorrow, he would have gotten. Hell, what he was doing in the regular season too, dropping 40s almost every night, he would have gotten that. Bo Jackson, come on now. Johnny Manziel, I mean, he got in trouble for signing his autograph. or allegedly signing autographs. He would have benefited greatly. Vince Young, come on. Carmelo, all these players on this list would have made some type of money. Were good enough, were special enough, were important enough to their team and to the NCAA. They would have gotten these deals. Number 5, I have Cam Newton. Bruh. Cam Newton. People forget Cam Newton's run. Cam Newton's. Now, of course, we all remember the long road that he took. Of course, he went to Florida and was behind Tim Tebow. Of course, he went to JUCO, won a national championship there, and then came to Auburn and won a national championship against Oregon in Auburn. But people forget how much of a superstar he was when he was in college. When he was with Auburn. Cam Newton could not be touched. He's a Heisman winner. I mean, Johnny Manziel's a Heisman winner. Vince Young's a Heisman winner. I think Bo Jackson's a Heisman winner, I believe. But Cam Newton was the best player in college football, and it wasn't even close. It was one of those things where, I don't know if you remember during that draft process. It's kind of like, you remember like this year, or like with the Trevor Lawrence. Remember how they always talk about who's going to go 2 on? And there was really no, we don't know who the Jaguars are going to pick at number. No, there was nothing like that. We all knew it was Trevor Lawrence. Now, of course, there were some people that I don't know if they're sold on Trevor. They were just doing that for clicks. Like, everyone knows Trevor was going. The same thing. It was the same thing for Cam Newton. Everyone knew. Every single person knew who was going number 1 to Carolina. It was going to be Cam Newton. Cam Newton brought so many eyes to the NCAA, brought so many eyes to Auburn, brought so many boosters, so many fans, so many endorsements, because he was box office. Because if you really look at that team, they had a good wide receiver and they had a good running back. But outside of that, they didn't really have much. It was Cam Newton carrying that team. And yeah, Cam Newton would have. Cam Newton, maybe more than a lot of these people. Well, of course, I have him at 5, but Cam Newton would have benefited greatly from. He would have been. God, he would have made so much money because of how, and not to mention his personality. Most of these people, outside of a few, have good personalities, and his personality would have got him a deal alone. The smile and talking to everybody and being upbeat. His size and stature. I don't know if you've ever, for people that have ever seen Cam Newton in person, this man is huge, and I mean huge. And pause. But that's a big dude, bro. And he was the best thing in college football at the time, in college sports at the time, and it wasn't even close. So number 5, I have Cam Newton. Number 4, I have Tim Tebow. Everything I just said about Cam Newton, double that by 2 with Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow, Tim Tebow still gets jobs today because he still gets jobs today because of his tenure in college football. It's not because of his NFL record, because he wasn't that good in NFL. He wasn't really good at all in NFL. He maybe had like a good stretch, maybe a good 2 games, but he wasn't good. Tim Tebow will arguably go down as one of the greatest college athletes ever. What he did at Florida was second to none. We know about the inspirational speeches and winning a national championship with Urban Meyer. Tim Tebow was different when we're talking about college athletes, Tim Tebow will go down as arguably one of the best, not the best, but one of the best college players ever. And he will go down in history as one of the most important Florida college players ever. And because of that, but the thing outside of Steph Curry and maybe Johnny Manziel, the thing about these players is they go to big institutions. Johnny Manziel went to Texas A&M, Bo Jackson went to Auburn, Vince Young went to Texas, Carmelo went to Syracuse, Cam Newton went to Auburn, and Tim Tebow went to Florida. Yes, they went to big institutions, but these players were bigger than the institutions. You can add Steph Curry in there. He was bigger than Davidson. Bo Jackson. When you think of, people were talking about Bo Jackson, not Auburn. People were talking about Johnny Manziel, not Texas A&M. People were talking about Cam Newton, not Auburn. People were talking about Tim Tebow, not Florida. Now, that Florida team had some monsters on that jump, but it was led by Tim Tebow. And Tim Tebow would have made so much money in college because of course, with the whole spiritual thing and religious thing. Plus, he was a good college football player. I'm not saying he was a good NFL player, but he was a good college football player. He was an all-time college football player at quarterback, and to me, he would have benefited greatly, man. So I have him at number 4. Number 3, I have Zion Williamson. Now, before people go crazy, like, wait, Zion? Do you remember Zion and Duke? Bruh, Zion got former President Obama to come to a game. The game that he blew out his PGs, Obama was there. Bruh, Zion was box office. Bruh, there would be NBA games. There would be NFL games. There would be huge NFL breaking news, huge NBA breaking news. And sports shows would lead with what Zion did last night. Bro, there was a counter, Zion dunks. You remember that. Sports Center were doing those. We're doing a Zion dunk counter. It seems like College Game Day that year was always wherever Duke was. And now, don't get me wrong. Duke also had R.J. Barrett. Duke also had Cam Reddish. But it was because of Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson looks like nothing we've ever seen. From his size paired with his athleticism, his strength, his speed. We've never seen anything like Zion Williamson. The fact that a player like that went to college and went to arguably one of the biggest institutions in college right now, and that's Duke. Yeah, no. And not to mention how much endorsement, do you know how many people knew absolutely nothing about Duke but knew about Zion Williamson and would just watch his games because they wanted to see something spectacular? Because of Zion. Again, people would talk. There was multiple games where R.J. Barrett had a better game than Zion Williamson, but Zion Williamson still led with SportsCenter because he was box office, and all these players are box office, man. And Zion would have made, Zion is Zion Williamson. Again, people were talking about Zion, and we're talking about Duke, even though Duke did lose to Michigan State and everything in I think it was like the Elite Eight or Final Four or something like that. But yeah, man, Zion Williamson would have made so much money. He might, and this all these players may have made money. I don't know. I'm just saying legally that he would have made so much money now because of this new rule. So I have Zion Williamson at 3. At number 2, I have Reggie Bush. First and foremost, the campaign is going on. Give Reggie Bush back his Heisman trophy. He didn't cheat. Give Reggie Bush back his Heisman. Come on, NCAA. You're getting it right with paying players. Now get it right with getting Reggie Bush give Reggie Bush his Heisman. Reggie Bush is one of the greatest college athletes we've ever seen. To me, he's up there. I would give him maybe top 3 as far as college football players. What Reggie Bush did at USC is nothing short of. Reggie Bush was so good. He made us forget about Matt Leinart a lot of times. Matt Leinart was on this team, and Matt Leinart was another great college football player. But Reggie Bush was doing things on that field that has never been seen. And the thing is, Reggie Bush is huge. Reggie, not saying height, but like Reggie Bush is a big back. and he was doing things, bro. He was doing things on that when I seen him run that ball. He was doing things on that field that got him to, bro. You don't see a lot of running backs getting the Heisman. I think the last running back that I can remember to get the Heisman was what, Derrick Henry? I don't remember. But you don't really see them getting Heismans like that. Reggie, and the thing is, it was a clear cut. Like, there was no question who should have got that. Reggie Bush, look, Reggie Bush, to me, will go down as the top 3 greatest college football player ever. Give that man his Heisman. He deserves it. In college, where he would have made so much money, especially being at a big market school like USC. And in fact, quiet as it's kept, he's one of the big reasons why it's a big market school. Him, Matt Leinart, Pete Carroll, the coach at the time, he's one of the biggest. Reggie Bush is one of the biggest reasons why USC is considered a powerhouse. Reggie Bush, bro. Reggie Bush. That's Reggie Bush. Number 2, I have Reggie Bush. And number 1, I had to do the Fab Five. The Fab Five, I couldn't just put one player. It had to be the Fab Five. Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, the Fab Five. I say the Fab Five because the Fab Five not only changed Michigan, they changed college basketball, they changed Nike and how Nike promoted and how athletes wore Nike. The Fab Five changed college basketball. You know how we say Steph Curry changed the NBA? The Fab Five changed college basketball. Because, again, Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard, Ray Jackson, Jimmy King, those 5, they were a brand. They knew it, but they couldn't get paid for it. We remember the famous line, Chris Webber saw his jersey being sold, and he was struggling to feed himself. Bruh, back in the day, those jerseys were making more money. The Fab Five jerseys made more money than most NBA players. The Fab Five was more popular than most NBA players. The Fab Five brought so much money to Michigan, brought so much money to the NCAA, and more importantly, they brought so much money to Nike. We know about the Huaraches, we know about the black socks, we know about the longer shorts. That was the Fab Five. Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard, Ray Jackson, Chris Webber, Jimmy King. I don't think college basketball would not be as big as it was if it wasn't for the Fab Five. Which, by the way, give them back their banners, give them back their wins. With this whole rule change now, give them back their wins. And the thing is, it's not the fact that they did it. It's the fact that I think they're saying Chris Webber pretty much lied about it. But give them back their banners. Put them banners back up. The Fab Five, even though they didn't win a national championship, they were one of the greatest teams to ever play college basketball. They were one of the most important teams to ever play college basketball. They would have, bro, and these players, and you saw the Fab Five documentary, they all struggled to figure out how to eat, figure out what transportation, like they struggled. Yet and still, they were making Nike millions, the NCAA millions, Michigan millions. Hell, they even made NBA money when they were not even in the NBA. Because, of course, the shoe sales and NBA players buying they made NBA money off their backs, and they didn't get paid nothing. Or they shouldn't have got paid anything. I don't know if they did or not. So, my list is Steph Curry, Bo Jackson, Johnny Manziel, Vince Young, Carmelo Anthony, Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, Zion Williamson, Reggie Bush, and the Fab Five. I guess I had to cheat in the last one, but the Fab Five I consider as one entity instead of multiple players. So those those players I believe would have flourished and benefit the most off this new NCAA ruling. Now, moving forward, I hope that it's just, I hope that it continues to stay. I hope that nothing gets changed. I hope that it just makes it more important. I mean, no, it makes it easier for players to get money off their likeness. There should be no reason why a number one overall recruit can't get paid, but the school is going to get paid off them. You know what I mean? So, shouts out, and I hope that this rule only improves. You know what I mean? So, and lastly, before we go, Sha'Carri Richardson could miss the Olympics after failing a drug test the other day. I think yesterday. 2 days ago. And it wasn't like she wasn't taking steroids. She wasn't taking like performance enhancer. It was weed. Now, I'll say this. First and foremost, it's still crazy. Now, I understand that Tokyo is operating differently than, of course, the United States, but it's still it's crazy to me how she didn't get busted for any performance enhancing drugs. In fact, she got busted for a drug that's supposed to make her slower, and I don't know, man. I don't get it, but it sucks, man. I hope that she's not banned. I hope that she's able. I think they're saying that it could be a 1 to 3 month ban, which would definitely disqualify her from being in the Olympics, because I think it starts in less than a month or something. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know how. I'm not judging. Don't get me wrong. I'm not judging her at all. I just don't understand how we haven't come to the time. Like, look, I don't smoke, man. I don't smoke weed. I don't smoke anything. But and I don't judge anyone that does it. And if you can link weed to her like being better than the rest, then all right, cool, fine her, suspend her. But there's no link to that. It's just weed, and I say it's just weed. I don't smoke. I'm not a proponent of smoking. I don't smoke, so I'm not saying do it. Hey, you do what you want to do. But if it doesn't enhance her ability to destroy people like she did, like if she's destroying people because of weed, I get it. But there's no link to that, so why does it matter so much? Not to mention, league is legal in pretty much majority of the United States. So what's going on here? I don't know. I hope that she's not. I hope that she's going to be able to race. I hope that it's just I don't know. I just hope that she works so hard to get to the Olympics, to get to the Olympic trials. We know about, how hard she had to work. So I hope that she's going to be able to be rewarded and not taken away over something like weed, which has absolutely nothing to do with her performance. I would understand if it's performance-enhancing drugs, but it's weed. Again, I don't smoke, but it's weed. It has nothing to do with her performance. So why would I don't get it, bro. I wish nothing but the best for her, man. And there you have it, man. That has been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I think this is a short one because I kind of hit y'all in the head with an hour and a half last time. But I appreciate y'all. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, long sleeve, sweater, hoodie, joggers, the link is in the description below. Hey, man, go get you your Unpopular Podcast hoodie or Unpopular Podcast merch today. I know. They look sweet. I know. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so anything would help. Again, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. That has been today's episode of Unpopular Podcast. And until next time, much love.